meeting this evening and guide all of those who need guidance. Make sure the deliberations are to the best interest of all involved. Father, watch over our troops and bring them home soon. Amen. Madam Clerk, the roll call.
Director Robert Uden.
Here.
Director Arlene Schaefer. Here. Director Arthur Perry.
Here.
Vice President Michael Schaefer.
Here.
And President James Fierman is absent at this meeting.
Thank you. Any ceremonial matters this evening, staff?
No, Mr. Vice President.
Any announcement of late communications?
Yes, Mr. Vice President. Staff did receive an email at 2 o'clock this afternoon from Mr. Mosier, which you have a copy of his questions. And then you also have a copy of my response that was sent to him at 4 o'clock this afternoon.
Public comments, the time and place for those in the public to make comments on the agenda. Mr. Mosier, I know you have a comment on item number 8. Do you want to do it now or?
Yeah, that would be fine. I have a comment or a question.
Okay. We'll do that when that item is going to be pulled.
Okay.
So you want to wait then or?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, seeing no one else for public comments, we'll move to the consent calendar. Any items to be pulled from the consent calendar?
I would like to pull number 8 and 10 just for some clarification.
Okay. And Mr. Mosier, I assume you want to pull number 8 as well? Okay.
Move down.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Then items other than 8 and 10 are passed. Item number 8. Mr. Mosier?
Yeah, thank you, Vice President Schaefer and members of the board. Unfortunately, I was in another meeting, so I didn't get Scott's answer to my written comments, and so I may be reiterating something you already got an answer to. But I was interested in this because the same person, this item number 8 is a letter from the person who's going to be auditing the financial statements of the district, and describing their responsibilities and what they're going to be doing. And the same identical person, Mr. Patel, is also the auditor in the city of Newport Beach. And I heard his entrance interview there, and I was surprised because one naively thinks that an auditor is looking for any indication of fraud or mismanagement that might be going on. But he said in Newport Beach all he was doing was checking that the numbers added up with what was reported. And so when I looked at this item here, I was comforted to see the letter from him seems to be saying, and I have no reason to think that there would be anything wrong going on here, but in the Newport Mesa Unified School District and in the city of Newport Beach, in not recent but distant memory, they both have had cases of embezzlement. And so I specifically asked Mr. Patel, would he be detecting that? He said, no, that wasn't what he did. This letter seems to the contrary, to say he sees part of his responsibility as looking into the integrity and quality of the what are called internal accounting controls here. It's on the second page of his letter. So I was just seeking the clarification that maybe we have a different arrangement with him than they did in Newport Beach, and we are indeed expecting him to do more than just a perfunctory examination, and will actually be doing some due diligence to look into such things and expressing an opinion about it. I hope I expressed that clearly. Thank you.
I just have a question for staff, Scott. Do we have in-house personnel that can work with the auditor and answer all the questions that he has?
Yes, we do. Yeah. I mean, we'll answer questions with staff, and Mark and his staff will be involved as well.
Okay, is Mark involved with the auditor at all?
No, it's primarily Stacy who would take the lead on it.
Because I know Stacy's new, and I want to make sure she can handle the questions that he might come up with.
Yeah, well, Mark's a good resource, so if we have questions, we can voice with him on it. Yeah. Did you want me to address Mr. Mosier's?
Yeah, Scott, if you wouldn't mind.
Sure, definitely. To answer Mr. Mosier's question, the auditor does the exact same thing as what it's going to do with the city of Newport Beach. In fact, you might, I don't know if you remember, but the auditor has said that to us before, that his job is not to find fraud or misreporting. Basically, he is just to make sure that our internal controls are in place and that we are basically following the generally accepted accounting principles. It's basically looking for it. And Mark, that's correct. I mean, correct if I'm wrong, that's pretty much what they're looking for.
Yeah. The firm's engaged to conduct a financial statement audit, and all what they do is to express an opinion that the numbers are not materially misstated, and in doing that, they make inquiries into internal control and risk. They perform a risk assessment at the district. Part of that includes fraud questionnaires or fraud inquiries of both management staff, and it may very well include the board. And then they will use whatever knowledge they gain in designing their audit procedures to express their opinion. But a financial statement audit is not a fraud audit, and in no way is it expected to detect fraud. If they discover something, they're obligated to report it to you.
They're obligated to report, as I understand it, but they can't make any judgments for basically liability reasons, as I understand it. I mean, if they were to accuse somebody of fraud, it could come back to them. Isn't that part of it?
Standards don't allow them to make determinations whether the fraud was actually perpetrated or not.
Sorry.
But what the standards do require is that they have to communicate that fraud to those charged with governance. If you had an audit committee, it would be them. Otherwise, it would be you as the board.
Right. Okay. Good, Drew.
Well, there's a, in the fourth line of the same page, paragraph, the plan, scope, and time of audit. It says fraudulent financial reporting. Is that different than what you just explained, or is that what you just explained?
It's just what I explained. If you look at the lead-in to that sentence, it refers to material misstatements can result from. And so they're expressing an opinion that the financial statements are free of material misstatement. He's just pointing out where those material misstatements could come from.
Correct me if I'm wrong, this is a standard letter they do to all the clients, right?
Yeah, it's a requirement under statement auditing standards, number 114.
All their clients get the same thing.
Okay. Sound right? Good. Thank you. Thank you all. Item number 10.
Yeah, after reading that, you're having permit office storage units. Is that going to be located on our site?
Yeah, it's right here. It's over here where our permit technician works. We have plans laying all over the place, and we're trying to reorganize that permits office. So we just don't have plans laying. We can easily find stuff. It's just very unorganized right now.
Okay, so that's going to go in that office right there?
Right, yeah, right over here. Yes.
I'm just curious.
Yeah.
So we've discussed item C. Second?
Second.
All those in favor? Any opposition? And 8 and 10 are passed. Thank you. No public hearings. We've had a request to move item 18 under the engineer's report to the beginning of the general manager's report.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Vice President. I'm going to have Rob Hammers, our district engineer, take the lead on this report, and we also have the property owner, Mr. Richard Stolman's here as well, you might want to address the board, but because he's here, so that's why I wanted to move this up in front of the agenda. So I'll turn it over to our district engineer, Rob Hammers.
Thank you, board members. I believe you have a very detailed staff report in your board packet, and as it states in there, unfortunately, we discovered that in 1977, the district actually terminated the connection of one of Mr. Stoneman's residences on that property. There are 4, and one of the properties has a single-family home. In 1977, the district actually constructed a new force main for the pumping station and constructed a new outlet manhole, and they put that manhole right on top of Mr. Stoneman's lateral. And why it was done was not made clear in the plans. It was not made clear in the plans that the lateral was there, but the plans definitely show what occurred. And that was verified in the field by one of our contractors, Schuler Engineering. Schuler was in and around that area when they were part of our lining operation for that force main Santa Ana pumping station. Unfortunately, they were very close to Mr. Stoneman's lateral, but they never uncovered that particular area where the lateral was. So, since that time, that single-family residence has not been tied to our sewer system. And that was verified by televising by us of our main lines. We had a special televising contractor come in, Pro Pipe, who televised one of the laterals. We had Coast Plumbing out there, verified televising from the buildings back to the main line. And we spent quite a bit of time and money and trying to excavate through rock or concrete to find where Mr. Stoneman's lateral was, assuming it was somewhere else. And we also uncovered black soil where the lateral was found to be capped or ended by us. So the conclusion was that the district inadvertently terminated Mr. Stoneman's connection. And there are quite a bit of expenses involved. There was, well, as it's detailed in here, it's getting close to $50,000. And Mr. Stoneman is here to provide input if there are any questions of him. I think it was very clearly disclosed in the field by myself, my staff, both contractors, Mr. Stoneman. I don't think there was any doubt about what happened. There may be questions from the board about how it happened, why it happened, how could it go along, so how could it last for so long without that, without some evidence occurring? Well, we had one a few months ago where a lady was basically tied into the ground for 7 years because OCSD's contractor did not complete construction properly. So that took 7 years before that lateral malfunctioned. So long story short is, I think Mr. Stoneman has a valid claim and he's here tonight to answer questions. I'll turn it over to Scott to review the individual expenses, because you have some for not receiving service for a number of years because he wasn't tied into our system. There were certain expenses for his past problems of that line, and there were expenses for current construction costs to tie him back in to our standards, which occurred, and it took more than a week, and the expenses are detailed in the staff report. So that's a brief presentation.
Yes, thank you, Rob. Excellent report. Yeah, I'll go a little bit on the financial review. As far as the sewer assessment fees, Mr. Stoneman's on the property for 12 years, and so we were assessing those fees on his property for 12 years, which he was not receiving that service. And as you'll see in your staff report, in our code, section 9.02.04-C2, it does say he is eligible to receive a claim after the act of 1982, but it does say it has to be within 180 days. We believe that because it's been such an undue hardship on his tenants, on him, that we believe we should settle with the total expenses that he incurred, which are identified in the financial review section. So in addition to the $1,800 in sewer assessment fees, there's additional costs incurred, such as landscape removal, relining his lateral. He also credited his tenant for the inconvenience, about $1,000. He also gave his tenant another $100 gift card because it was an inconvenience for the tenant. So we believe all these expenses are warranted, and our recommendation is to have him sign a settlement agreement, both of us sign the settlement agreements, and then we will issue the check to Mr. Stoneman, and then the settlement agreement along with the check, and then any construction costs incurred, like Rob's close to $50,000, we will send that to SDRMA, which they are aware of this claim. We gave them a heads up, and they actually recommended us to settle, and so hopefully we can recoup most of that cost.
I have a couple of quick questions. In terms of the sewer assessment fees, part of that was from OCSD.
No, that's totally different. In fact, The $1,800 is our fees.
Okay.
He'll be eligible to receive an additional like $4,500 from
From
OCSD.
OCSD.
I did make contact with OCSD today, put him in contact, who to talk over this and claim, so he has all that information.
Okay.
So that's done separately with OCSD.
Okay, thank you. The other question I had is, and maybe I'll ask district council, in terms of the rent credit and the gift card, are we okay including that, or is that's not a gift of public funds that we can't?
No, I think we're making a recommendation for a package settlement for all of the inconvenience, trouble, and strife that he suffered, and
Sure.
I think it's justified as consideration for going outside of our normal statute of limitations and
Okay.
the normal assessment.
And I guess my last point, sorry, Director, Rob, where's the sewer been going to last?
Into the ground.
Are there any liabilities to us?
Well, we removed the soil that we found that was black, and we believe we cleaned up everything we could find. So I don't believe there are any liabilities.
It's not an SSO, but I mean, contaminating soil,
But you know, we discussed this, and way back when our WDR came around, we were asked to study leaking sewer pipes. How far does that wastewater dissipate out? And it turns out not very far. As a matter of fact, the study of a septic system where you have leach lines, and the purpose is to allow the water to get out. Most of that water does not go more than 6 inches to a foot away from the pipe. Yeah, so I don't believe there's any liability here.
Director,
Is this a long lateral? I can't imagine, you know, my lateral, if it was plugged, and most laterals would flood, you know, would overflow immediately,
Well,
relatively.
understood. And we have, well, we do know that the soil in that area is moist. And we also know that there are areas in the city where groundwater moves through underground. And just like out on Watson, where the lady was for 7 years, she had 50 feet of 8-inch pipe after her lateral, and then it went right into the soil, and went like that for 7 years before it eventually backed up. And it may have never backed up if there weren't like papers and things that would stop the infiltration from occurring. And back in the day, that was how they actually took care of sewer. It was called dilution is the solution. They actually left the joints apart in underground pipes so that the wastewater would infiltrate between the joints, and then if there was more, it would just keep going down the system. So, and that's, septic systems are still allowed today, so that's in effect what was occurring.
Is it a long lateral?
His house is set back pretty far, so I believe I would call it a long lateral.
Well, I move approval.
I'll second.
any other questions from the board?
It's called exfiltration.
Right. Just one point of clarification, and the motion sounds very good. The invoices from Schuler will probably be sent directly to us, so that is not part of the reimbursement to Mr. Stoneman. So there's the reimbursement to Mr. Stoneman, that's one amount, and the rest of the amount will incur, but as Scott said, will apply to SDRMA for reimbursement.
My motion is pay Mr. Stillman per the staff report, and staff has authorization to reimburse contractor as needed.
I'll second that, but I'd like to hear from Mr. Mosher if he has any comments before we approve it. Did you have some comments you submitted, Mr. Mosher?
I think it was about a typographical error.
Okay, so you're okay. Just wanna make sure
It's not on this clean sheet. If SDRMA denies the claim, will that come back to us?
come back being denied, yeah, we're just gonna have to pay it.
Okay.
Yeah, we're just pay it.
So we have a motion, a second, any other discussion? Call for the question, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. I apologize, Mr. Tillman, we should have asked you if you had any questions. Did you have any
No.
comment or question?
The concern about any liability on your part, Mr. Chairman, if you approach the board, yes, sir.
Just give us your name for the record.
You bet. My name is Richard Stoneman, owner of the property, 2457 San Ana Avenue. I do have a question, and we had talked about, or I thought about it earlier in the day. If there is a toxic plume or something out that results, do I have any exposure?
I certainly wouldn't believe he would if it was our construction that caused the problem.
And there won't be, Rob alluded to studies that were done about 8 years ago. Sewage doesn't travel very far from the sewer pipe.
Used phrase better than I did. That's kind of what I was alluding to, is the liability from a toxic situation like that. It, like, as the engineer said, it should be.
Not a big word, okay. Thank you.
I have a question, are you a longtime Costa resident?
I live in Newport Beach.
Mr. Stoneman, how was our service out there?
You guys were great. Everybody, all the way through, was helpful. It was a head scratcher. It was a lot of work. It was worrisome. We got through it. Thank you, Rob. Scott, appreciate it very much.
Thank you for your patience and cooperation. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Right here.
We should give the district council here.
Sorry to happen to you. Good, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stone. Okay, then we'll move to Scott Tip. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Item 11.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Vice President. Stacy Cuevas is gonna give this report.
Thank you. I'm going to present the year-end expenditure report for fiscal year 2012-13. The district will realize a surplus of just under $5.2 million. 86% of this is actually coming from the CIP budget. 6 CIP projects were completed last year, resulting in a combined savings of just over $1 million. Those funds will be returned back to the Asset Management Fund. There are a couple of items that I'd like to draw your attention to in the staff report. The first is with regards to the trash fund. You'll notice in the line item that is called trash hauler that there is a deficit of just under $193,000. The reason for this is that the district has historically paid for June's trash collection in July and not correctly posted it back to the previous fiscal year. We're trying to correct that this fiscal year, which in essence means that for 12 months of collection service, you're seeing 13 months worth of bills. It's not an issue with the budget, it's not the issue with expenditures, it's just trying to get our accounting back in line for each particular fiscal year. The other item is actually not in your staff report. We were actually recently made aware of a payment that we needed to make to CalPERS. The district actually pre-funds some of our retirement benefits, and we have a minimum payment that we need to make every year of $17,000. We make some payments throughout the year, and then a final payment is due by August 30th, actually. So in order to fund our entire contribution, we needed to pay CalPERS just under $10,000. That is not reflected in this report, and therefore we'll change these numbers a little bit.
That actually doesn't go to CalPERS, does it? Is that payment for the unfunded liability? Is that the account that we set up? I think it's
Yes,
the account
it's the
we set up.
trust.
You know, it's CalPERS, potential CalPERS incurred costs if, if they don't ever get their act together. But someday, that was $131,000, and the board set up that, the fund. So it's potential CalPERS incurred someday payment, if their investments, come back to where they should, we'll regain that, so.
But I'm sorry, Bob, that's not part of our unfunded liability. Isn't that actual?
It's pre-funding.
It's pre-funding, but it's not part of the unfunded liability.
Mark, do you perhaps have a little bit more information on
Do you know,
this?
Mark, that?
Correct, that's not part of the unfunded liability yet. We're not required to book that
Right.
until June 30, 2015.
Right.
And at that point in time, we would deal with that. This has to do with post-employment benefits and that
So
liability.
it is a PERS.
Yes, correct.
It just sounded like the same amount.
It's an actual expense, it's not a pie in the sky expense.
No, it's an actuarially determined
Right.
liability that you as the board had elected to fund on a pay-as-you-go basis. And so that's what we're doing. We're putting the funds in each year on what the actuarially determined liability amount is.
I apologize.
So you're part of that
That-
program, aren't you? Sorry, Stacy.
I authorize.
Okay, go ahead, Mark. While we're talking about unfunded liabilities, Mark, in 2015, what will we owe at that time, rough idea? Or will we owe any?
It's still to be determined. CalPERS hasn't come out and broken out those agencies that are included in a risk pool, and they're still in the process of doing that. We don't know at this point in time what your unfunded liability will be.
Will there be some?
Yeah, I'm sure that there will be. Yours will probably be less than most agencies because being a younger district and you haven't had many retirements since then, since you became a separate standalone agency.
Mark, we had a Waco meeting or something, ISDOC meeting where an OSERS representative came, because many of the agencies were OSERS, use the OSERS retirement fund. And I thought she made the statement that the unfunded liability never becomes a liability unless you choose to change, whatever it is at any one point in time. It only becomes a liability if you choose to change retirement systems. It only becomes due at that point. I mean, it goes up and down as little as the year 2000. OSERS had no unfunded liability because their investments were good.
That's correct. On a pure cash basis, yeah, you're going to be out no cash. It's just going to be a paper transaction, if you will, that's going to have to be shown on the face of your financial statements that if at this point in time you separated from CalPERS, this is what you would end up owing.
Okay.
That's what you're going to be required to disclose, but it's going to be recorded on the face of your financials as well.
Stacy?
Are there any questions before regarding our expenditures throughout the year? Was there any questions that you had with reviewing the report?
Well, with the trash fund, if we hadn't paid the 13th payment, then we would have had a positive $190-some thousand.
In addition to the 190 that's
We're
there.
still in the surplus.
Yeah,
in
we
the
still have a
solid waste
surplus.
fund. Right, 195,000 surplus in the solid waste fund.
So, we gave away 200-some thousand this year, rebated it to, so we're still in good. No.
Trash, you're talking trash.
We lowered the trash fees and that cost us a couple $100,000, so. Maybe we can do it again.
That's good.
Although there's a few other things.
Yeah,
we've
we'll
got
have to
to
wait
find.
till October 1st.
I just had a kind of a curiosity question. I noticed, and I was trying, I think it's under special programs, I read something about, here it is, the additional lockable containers. It's been some time since we've talked about lockable containers, and remember we got all excited.
Kind of died down a bit.
Is that because we haven't done anything, we haven't gone out and promoted it, or?
Yeah, I think that's part of it. I think it's kind of died down a bit. It was funny because at the time it hit the newsstand, Newport Beach was dealing with the issue
Right.
too, so it kind of like both agencies are tackling the same issue but doing it differently. And that's what caught a lot of the news media's attention. But no, we have been aggressively doing. We can if you want to. I know CNR has a few left in stock, maybe like a dozen. And so every once we do get people asking, we'll have it. But if we do start advertising, the demand could go up.
I might have sneezed, if you don't mind. Do you have any, have your guys said anything of plus or minus about these things, or are they just part of the regular core? Are they not causing any issues or anything?
Yeah, to my knowledge, it's working just fine. We had, I think, 1 or 2 issues when we first started the program, a couple of faulty locks. Other than that, everything's working fine.
I remember my initial reaction was people are gonna lose their keys too much, but they'll just cut the lock off and it won't be lockable anymore probably.
How many do we have out in the city right now? Rough idea.
Let's see, how many,
We had 200, I thought.
we bought 5,000, how many did we buy for $5,000, you remember?
I think we had 2 5,000s.
Right, right.
So that's 10,000. So
I kinda remember we had a project of 100, and then we added 100 more.
That's good.
One last question. The I&I, the I&I expenditures, I appreciate your report. The I&I expenditures were abysmal. Would you bring that to the next study session, or a future study session, say October? I think the September study session will be kind of busy, but I would like to know how, I believe it's in the strategic plan to continue that program, yet there were no expenditures to speak of whatsoever this year, and sort of a plan for why you would not do that, and or how you're going to.
What do you mean by this one?
They didn't spend any of the funds that were appropriated. That budget line item had, well, very little. There's the hand.
Mr. President,
Rob.
I'm sorry, Mr. Vice President.
Go ahead.
If I may.
Tell me whatever you want.
Thank you. Angel fan number one. You may not have seen it in the budget, but we paid National Plant Services as part of their cleaning program to re-plug and seal every manhole that they took off that was previously plugged and sealed. And there were also some that were added to that a little bit by my office, but there hasn't been enough rain to even, over the last 2 years, to even calculate how we're doing. And we have made more plans to inspect the manholes for stability, and Scott is running that, and that does leave us more opportunity to plug and seal. So it may look like we're not doing anything, but we're not moving backwards at all. We're maintaining at least what we have.
Well, I'd like to take you on a tour. Any staff that would like to go along, as I go down the alleys and things, many of the plugs are missing.
Okay.
There's not, I just wanna be ready when it
That's a
chooses to
fair
rain.
statement. Be happy to.
And those may be, you know, National Plant Services doesn't unplug every one, they can
Right.
oftentimes have cleaned through.
Right.
Through a manhole and they don't have to open it.
And plus, we are now cleaning half the system every year too.
Yeah, I
So-
just would like a plan for how to get the program back on track, unless we, don't choose to.
Good question for Rob. When we clean the line, do we plug the manholes ourselves?
At this point, we just finished our first year of cleaning, and I don't have an answer as to whether we replugged and sealed, but we were behind in the cleaning, so I don't have an answer. Scott, do you know?
No, I don't.
Just curious.
Yeah. By
If
October, November,
they're gonna do it, we might as well use
Maybe.
the time blocks.
maybe October study session will give us, if we choose to do any more, when we get time.
I'll ask Steve. Get back to you.
The recommendation was the board receive and file.
Yes, thank you.
Item 12.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. This I would like to hold and bring back in a later,
Oh, I'm sorry.
later board meeting.
Board okay with that? Item 13.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Vice President. The board requested this item be placed on tonight's agenda. As you might recall, back in 2011, the board approved being participants in the district's health insurance plan, a non-CalPERS member that went into effect on January 1st, 2012. And basically how the program works is, as being the participant as a non-CalPERS member, the district would permanently pay like 20% of the premiums, and then the participant board member would pay the other 80% out of his or her own pocket. In 2012, the district had one board member participating in the plan, but as of today, there are no longer any board members participating in our insurance plan. So there is typically there's a 60-day window to elect to terminate if you want to do that, but that's passed. So that means if you want to file termination resolution for non-CalPER members, we have to wait to file in July 2014, and that will go into effect in January 2015. So that's just some of the considerations.
Now, reading this is our fee, what do we pay per month for non-members if we have no members?
it's
60
based, that's actually, I think $60 a year.
I mean,
wasn't it? $60
why not, I think we should keep it on the books, and you never know what's gonna happen to the board, and we're already in, and it's only $60 a year, that's something I would consider. That's just me.
And it's really not an issue that we'll deal with again until next well, sometime before the enrollment period, I would assume. We just miss it
Yeah, we just missed, so the next time we do is July.
July of 14.
Yeah.
Cadillac.
This is
Or
the
Cadillac,
healthcare.
is this our Cadillac sheriff plan?
I mean, that's, I thought that
Or
would
like
be
a
wise
Kia.
after reading this for $60 a year, so you never know what's gonna happen with the board.
Absolutely.
And they have that option to do it, they just have to pay their own way.
Exactly. They pay their 80%.
Yeah, they pay
It's a pretty good deal.
No, you know, the boards change and you never know.
Well,
It was an issue in the last campaign,
Yeah,
even
that's
though
true.
it was idiotic.
Yeah.
It will be an issue in the next campaign.
Sure, it will be.
but essentially, there's nothing, we're stuck for at least until next enrollment period.
Yeah, but I mean, if that's an issue with the upcoming elections, at least you can say, well, we filed a termination in July 2014.
Right.
And it'll be effective until, so, you know, you can still do it before the elections kicks off, you know, so. it's
So
up to you,
but I sort of agree with Director Perry, things do change and it may be an issue.
$600 or something would be different than 60, something good to keep on the books.
I know it asked for direction, but it basically.
So I guess,
just
again, no
continue.
direction, we'll just continue then. No, okay.
Well, I'd like to make a motion to eliminate it.
Well, we can't until next year, we can't do anything.
No, but I mean, we can.
He can start, you could start it, that's what he said.
Yeah. I mean, to get, so that staff, you know, you all may not agree, but, that would be my recommendation is we start the process and staff has direction. So that we don't miss the deadline again.
I might make just a substitute, I think that at this point, we calendar it until March of next year, which will give us, April of next year, which is 90 days to start the process.
So what you're asking is the staff bring it back in a
April.
timely manner.
Yeah, just the staff bring it back, calendar it to bring back in April of 2014, is that right?
And-
So our enrollment period 90 or 60 days?
It's, you have 60 days to elect to terminate.
So actually, you could bring it back in May.
But I think
you can do it
what
anytime during this.
Director Lynn's saying is if you can make a motion to direct staff to file a termination resolution in July, and so if you pass it tonight, then we'll put it on the calendar to terminate in July. We'd have to come back in July with the resolution, and you adopt the resolution, and then it goes into effect, termination on January 1st, 2015.
Okay.
So is that a motion?
I made the motion that, direct staff to, take the necessary steps to, eliminate the boards of directors' health insurance.
Not hearing a second, the motion dies for lack of a second.
Wins some, you lose some.
Then I'll move that the staff bring it back to us in May of 2014 for discussion again.
In May, the end of May, that'll be
Beginning of
enough
May,
time.
beginning of May.
Maybe April.
Well, we have a 60-day window.
But the April.
Oh, okay, I know what you're saying. Then bring it back in April. That'd be my motion.
Okay.
Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
So three,
I'm a
3-1.
so we're bringing it back in April for reconsideration.
Always looking forward, Bob. Okay, item 14.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Vice President. This item is actually one of my performance goals that was set by the board. The board wanted me to prepare a brief analysis that compares the cost to perform a traditional method of removing and replacing dilapidated sewer pipes versus modern methods such as using trenchless technology. And as you know, remove and replace or excavation is the oldest form of sewer system rehabilitation, and it will always be with us. We'll continue using remove and replace when it's necessary, but it is costly, it is time consuming, and it is disruptive to motorists and to the business and homeowners. The cost for remove or replace can range from $40 to $300 a foot. That really depends, basically on the depth of the pipe, obstacles that you have to remove or replace, any additional equipment or man hours have to be used. Now there are a variety of different trenchless technology, and on page 2 of the report is a list of trenchless technology that we have used. I think we've used every one except for horizontal and directional drilling. Correct, Rob, we never used that before, right?
That's correct.
But we're planning on using it on Harbor, right? Harbor
Yes.
Beach. So we plan on bringing that back to the board and using that method on the Harbor Main horse main. But all the other trenchless technology we've used very successfully. In addition, obviously the benefits to trenchless technology, it's a lot cost less. It's between $60 to $120 a foot. The benefits also, it protects the environment. Like I said, it's cost effective. Its benefits to infrastructure, meaning like we don't have to tear up the streets and sidewalks, and it's very time effective. In other words, room replace can take weeks. Trenchless technology takes days, so it's very effective. As I mentioned, there are still going to be some instances where we have to use remove and replace, especially when sewer pipes have sags. We can't find pipes that have sags. We just got to bite the bullet and remove and replace it if that's what we have to do. But you also notice in your staff report, I did indicate there's a good resource out there. It's called a No Dig Show, annual conference called No Dig Show. We might want to consider attending one of these days. It's sponsored by the North American Society of Trenchless Technology. Unfortunately, just had one in Sacramento last year. The next one's in Florida. I think the year after that's in Denver. So they go all over the country. So we kind of want to stick close to California, but it's a quite a big conference. And we might be we'll attend one day. But in the past 2 years, we have saved $2 million using trenchless technology instead of the traditional remove and replace. And as I said, if we will continue using that method, if particularly works out best for us, we will continue doing that. And we think it's a very effective method for rebuilding our force mains. So, if you have any questions, we're happy to answer them.
Looking at the list here, fold and form, can you explain, because have we used that before?
You might recall I showed that in our presentation to the Chamber of Commerce. We did that on Molokai. Molokai is a quiet neighborhood. There is a humongous tree on that cul-de-sac, and it's beautiful.
And what tree you thought?
And the tree is in the enforcement, and there's no way we were going to remove that tree. And I wouldn't want any touch it. The neighborhood would just be very.
I thought there, when I saw Scott looking at it and he had his industrial strength deodorant on, he was still sweating.
So instead of removing the tree, we use what's called fold and form. And what that does is you take the pipe and it's wrapped in in a wheel, and it's stuck in a truck, and you heat up that pipe where it's like a taffy. It bends really easy. And then what you do is you pull in one manhole and you come out another manhole, and you blow air into it, and then it forms inside the pipe, and it hardens. And now you have a fully rehabilitated pipe, and it's done in a day rather than tearing up the whole street.
It just folds it over.
Yeah, I just had never heard that term before.
Yeah, it's called fold and form. We did it in Molokai. It's SandCon, which is SandCon Engineering, which is based on Huntington Beach. They're pretty much the only ones that know how to do that, and done it very effective. Do you have any comments on that?
Yes, fold and formed is very much like CIPP. It's just a different way of inserting the pipe, but it's heated, and they use hot air, steam. They used to use hot water, but it cures the liner, and it cures it in place and hardens up against the walls of the pipe.
I know, it's great, I just had never heard that term.
It's just a way to make it smaller to get it inside. And then the steam and blows it up in the balloon.
That's obviously a significant number on the savings, but I'd ask you to add a fifth benefit.
Sure.
I mean, again, using my real world hat, I think there's a fifth benefit to doing this kind of work instead of trenching, and that's a worker safety factor. I mean, there's so many times you see these guys buried in trenches, and using this kind of technology, we're not going to have that. And to me, that's a very significant benefit
Right.
towards it.
Very good.
Okay.
Do we need
It's just, receive and file, yeah, it's just one of the goals that the board wanted me to present to you.
Good report. Item 15?
Yes, thank you, Ms. Vice President. This is, again, four recommendations for rewarding ideas by staff, and I think it's explained in the staff report, so happy to answer any questions. Mr. Freed?
I was part of helping set this program up, and we had used the PRIDE program and the IDEA program forever. Orange County Zen District and gave out up to $10,000 if there was I think it was 10%. So, you know, there was oftentimes very, very large savings. Of course, the district is very much larger. When we were talking about setting it up, it may be a policy problem that I have, but the supervisors in the previous program, in the initial program we had at Orange County Zen District, supervisors and managers could not participate in the program. The present program, I think, is called PRIDE, and I checked with the person who had run the program and brought him to me for review. And supervisors can now be in the program. They've never had a supervisor apply for the program. So as a policy matter, I don't know how we set it up or who it was based on, but I'm opposed to at least having managers participate in the program. And so I don't know what to do if the program's set up now so that a manager can participate. Then I might agree to Anna's. Anna did a good thing for us. She saved us a lot of money. But I believe managers' responsibilities are to do that as part of their job. So I need to look at the program. I would like to have that program at least see what it says, find out what it was based on, because it was apparently based on a different concept than I had in mind. And so, as a policy matter, you know, I can't determine without. I tried to look it up on the web, and the operations manual would come up, but the administrative procedures 40, 20, 20, 40, whatever it is, aren't on the web, or at least I couldn't find it. So I would have read it. But if you set it up so that Anna can participate, then I'd be less, you know, I'd be inclined to give her the money this time, but I would like to change that policy so that supervisors can participate and managers, I think that's just part of their job.
I couldn't support $850 for that project. Not knowing that Bob knows, but I think she's one of our managers, right?
Yes, and if I can respond,
Yes.
the direction was employees rewards program. It wasn't stipulated managers, supervisors. So all employees, except for me, you know, of course I don't apply for it, but all other employees are eligible for that program because I think all employees have very good ideas. And personally, I don't think you should differentiate one from the other. I mean, we're all in this in the same thing and trying to, you know, save money for the district and be more effective, cost effective. The amount, the policy is written against is all employees. That doesn't say managers or employees. And the way it works is that an employee can get up to 20%, whatever the savings is that per employee, savings or revenues. That person gets 20% of those savings and revenues. So the $850 recommended to Anna is 20% of the savings that she generated. And it's a maximum is $1,000. No one can get more than $1,000. So even if they saved $100,000, the max they're going to get is $1,000.
I'm just opposed to that amount. I would think it'd be more appropriate around $150 personally.
I'm just going by what the policy says. It says up to 20%, and that's 20%.
That's why I couldn't support it personally, that amount. And then I have another, are we finished with that one? Because Diana presented us with an idea about the contract.
That's coming next one.
Oh, is that coming?
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. Because I didn't see her on the list.
Yeah, it's next one.
If you've written the policy that way, I'll make a motion to support these awards, but I would like the policy, I'd like to have the board review the policy and see if they, I lost one vote tonight. See if they concur with me. I just can't fathom, managers have such a, managers have so much, larger opportunity, to do these savings, but that's just part of their job, as far as I'm concerned.
You know, my suggestion is, it's the policy was followed, the award is followed strictly by the policy. If the board has concerns with the amount, what is written, then my suggestion is approve these ideas today, because it strictly goes like the policy, and then as Director Oon says, we'll bring back the policy at a future board meeting for further discussion. If we want to revise the policy, we can do it then.
Well, I make a motion to.
I'm sorry, Director, before we entertain your motion, we have a member of the public that would like to address this, if the board is okay with that.
That's perfect.
Yeah, thank you, Vice President Schaefer and members of the board. My name again is Jim Mosher. I wholeheartedly agree with Director Uden's comments. I do think creativity and cost savings is something expected of managers and built into the salary that they receive and should not be a separate reward. But the specific question of the copiers and how much cost savings there are, I do have a question about that, or I should say I'm questioning what it says in the staff report. I did receive Scott's message. I did read it while you were debating this, and I still think there's an error in the presentation. There may be an explanation, but on page 6 of the staff report, it shows two tables. One is showing, this is about the realignment of the copiers between this office building and the yard building. And there's one table showing what the cost would be buying new copiers, and a second one under the plan that is being proposed. And the plan that is being proposed shows a total of 2 copiers operating, and if I understand Scott's email, there will still be 2 copiers operating in this building, but one that is in this building now will be operating at the yard, and there's no expense shown for that. And whether it's an old copier or a new one, there must be some expense related to operating it at the yard. So there will be 3 copiers operating. All 3 will have some expenses, so I believe the total in the second table should be bigger, and the savings is the difference between the 2. So I think the difference, the savings, is smaller than is indicated here, because it does not show the expense associated with one of the 3 copiers. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
If you look at that table, the first potential situation, yard plotter printer, $5,104. That's the printer we would have had to buy, because the staff at the yard needed a new color copier with a plotter. If we were to buy a new one, it would have cost us $5,104. The savings is from, most of that is from that, because what Anna suggested is that we took the old copier here, and instead of buying a new one, we put it over at the yard. So now they have that color copy, so we saved that $5,104 from buying a new one. In addition to that, we were also paying maintenance fees on copiers we didn't even have, like the one in Joan's office. We were paying a fee that she wasn't even in there, so we eliminated that. So there was a gross savings of about $5,300. Now the new copy machines that we have here, as you see in the bottom, copiers up and down on this, what's the suggested situation. The lease and the maintenance fees is a little bit higher than what we're paying, because this is a network copier, meaning we can receive and send faxes, we can email documents. It's a smarter copier, so it's a little more expensive. Because it was more expensive, about $1,100, that nets out the $5,300 I was saying is gross. And that's where we came up to $4,200 of the savings. The savings is because we don't have to buy a plotter, new printer at the yard. That's where the savings came from.
I think my dilemma here, and whether the $850 is exorbitant or not, it does follow a procedure. I agree with Director Uten that we might want to take a look. Because I know when I worked for a large company and we had an idea program, managers were not included in it. So that's something the board's going to have to, if we want, take a look at. But we're sort of debating on whether our program is right or wrong, and we haven't. I don't think we can do that tonight. So.
Well, yeah, that's a policy decision, but, if these amounts follow the present policy, the present, administrative resolution, or it's called, then I move approval for, these amounts, with, policy, or that resolution, whatever it is, be brought back to us at a future meeting to, amend, to evaluate whether we should amend it.
Couldn't we take each one separately? For motions?
Well, he's got a motion right now for all three, and we see how it goes.
I'm gonna have to second his motion because it is following the current procedure. So I'll call for the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
No.
No.
So it's a 2-2.
Pass. So that means none of them passes?
No, I'll make a substitute motion.
Go ahead.
That number 2 and 3, Javier and Jensen, be rewarded their $100 each.
I second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And I'll move that, the number 1 request for Anna Sanchez, be brought back to the September meeting for
Say that
consideration.
again?
Be brought back to the September meeting for consideration.
Okay.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
So just for clarification, bring back Anna Sanchez for consideration.
With the full board.
Okay, okay, heard you. All right.
Okay. Item 16. Oh, engineers report. Item 16.
Yeah, before, I'm sorry, Mr. Spector, before, I'm sorry, go number 16. That was yours.
It's,
Sorry.
it's 17 you wanna?
That's 8, yes, 17.
Okay. Status report, project status report, Rob?
Welcome to answer any questions, if there are any. Everything's moving along.
Directors, any questions? Robert?
There's a couple of emergency projects that are carried over, and I'm a little concerned that, they've been going on so long. So, $31,000 for the fastening down of the control panels at the pump stations. Is that near done?
I'm not looking at the report, but construction didn't start that long ago.
Yeah.
But it is over 50% complete at this point in time, and the contractor is working diligently at the stations.
You only need it done 5 minutes before the year.
Right.
But the emergency, the others, do we need to break out the pumps from the emergency generators, or from the, do we need to separate the contract for those that are accomplishable from the ones that the city of Newport Beach and the city of Costa Mesa are giving us problems?
That's a very good suggestion, and that has already been done by Scott. So we're moving ahead independently with the generator at the Canyon pumping station. We've made headway, and we have a path to success. On the other generator, that's being held up for one reason or another. Scott can give details. On the backup pumps, we're moving ahead on the 3 in the city of Costa Mesa. And right now, we're using a prefab building for 2 of the 3 sites. And that takes time to have that spec'd out and checked for constructability and all. But we're in final coordination between the building manufacturer and our Godwin people, who are putting the backup unit inside that that building. So we're going to be putting those 3 out to bid by themselves. And
So you're moving more or
right,
less that.
we're probably 1 to 2 weeks from going out to bid
Okay.
on that, and it has been way too long and very frustrating from my standpoint. We're not used to this. So the last one, which is 23rd, we're going to do separate battle with the city of Newport Beach.
Well, if you can, everyone you get installed, we still got temporary generators we can drag around.
Right.
Other things. everyone though that is there and available.
Thank you for sharing our pain.
Yeah, or,
Do you print these for us, or does our office do this, you know, what we receive on our folder? Because they're pretty small to read. I was hoping
Oh,
we could make them a
the,
little larger.
oh, the spreadsheets?
As spreadsheets.
Oh,
We print them up and,
Can we make them a little larger? Sure. It's pretty tough, even for the citizens, you know, it's pretty tough to read. Just-
I used to have 20/20 vision.
I do, but
you're dating yourself, Rick. Thank you, Rob. Any other questions? Item 17, Scott?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. I mean, before Rob presents this, just a change in the recommendation of, as you probably know, we don't have the agreement attached to the staff report, and because this is, the total cost is within the general manager's threshold to sign, this is just more, this report's more as a receive and file, but I'm gonna turn over to Rob and kind of explain to you why we have to go with a different contractor for our traffic control, so turn over to Rob.
Thank you. We like to keep at least 2 traffic control companies on emergency agreement. As you know, for an emergency agreement, that means that the contractor, by signing that agreement, has already agreed to our terms. Alan's office has prepared that. There's indemnification requirements for insurance. Their insurance is automatically sent to us. So it allows in an emergency just to make one phone call and be protected. So of our 2, one of them went out of business, and some of those people were absorbed by a different company. So and we checked the history of that company. They've been around for a while, and that is Alpha Traffic Services. So we're recommending to enter into an emergency agreement with Alpha so that we still have Alpha and our existing agreement with California Barricade. So that's the purpose.
Questions, Rick?
When do we make payment? Is it monthly or at the end of their service, or how do we make payment to this?
There is no payment until we hire them. So,
You mean, no, we have them on like a retainer?
no.
Not a true retainer, no.
Right, so
Not a true retainer, yeah.
It's just for
It's a
service.
non-call
Okay,
agreement.
so if
Service
that
surrendered,
happens, that's what we pay.
Right, paying for the service render, service provided.
That's a pretty good deal.
Yes, it is.
But lawyers don't work that way.
I'd like a true retainer someday. Just get paid to answer the phone when you guys call, if you ever need me.
Hey, I do that in my business. Okay, anything else, Rob?
That's
Rob?
it. Thank
Scott?
you.
No, it's received, Rob. Thank you.
Okay, treasurer's report, Mark, anything for us, man?
No items to report this month.
Thank you, sir. Alan, anything to report?
No, Mr. Vice President.
Local meetings, Director, or President Brandon's not here, but do we have an OCSD report? Bob?
I went to the board meeting, and then, President Brandon was there. It was a very short meeting. The main thing was, they were rejecting, or they need to purchase oxygen for one of their, secondary treatment, oxygenated sludge plant. They used to manufacture oxygen, that plant is quite old. Air Products had been the historic supplier, and they were the low bidder on that contract, but they didn't bother to submit their insurances and whatnot, so they went to the next low bidder. There were a lot of projects that needed contingencies. There were major items on the closed session, and I couldn't stay for that. But they were the SAPA negotiations and a few others. I didn't pay much attention to them because I couldn't stay for it.
Thank you for the report. Art,
That'd be next month.
next month, okay. ISDOC, I apologize for not joining you, whoever went to ISDOC's quarterly meeting today, but, at our executive committee meeting early in August, the big topic was the things that are coming up for vote, obviously the OCOG, membership. I don't know if they announced it at the meeting, but it passed 16-3 to continue.
Can be members of OCOG.
So we'll continue, ISDOC is going to continue to the tune of $5,000 a year in OCOG. I support it, I think it's a worthwhile thing to be in.
Question. Did you fax in your ballot?
I emailed the ballot to Jessica, and she confirm that she got it.
So that total is part of our,
The last total I got from her this afternoon was 16-3.
No, that's what she announced, was
No,
15 to be,
she announced 18.
18, right,
Yeah.
15, yes, 3 no.
18 were in favor,
Right.
3 were against.
I just wanted
Yeah.
to see if our vote counted.
Yeah.
Every vote counts, Director Barry.
I know, but they don't all have to get them at that time,
Right.
do they?
She had a deadline of 1 o'clock today
Okay.
to get them, and I did get it
Yeah.
way before 1 o'clock.
I know you told me.
You can fax from the golf course.
I suppose I could, but I didn't. Don't criticize my Thursday morning activities, Director. At our next executive committee meeting, we'll again talk about the changes to the bylaws and things, but I'll just save that comment until we get to new business because it's on the agenda. CSDA, nothing to report from CSDA except that we're all going to Monterey in a couple of weeks. Looks like a really good agenda. There's some stuff on the agenda that looks very relevant. I think it's going to be it'll be a good meeting up there. Costa, I know 3 of us attended Costa. I got to tell you, by far I don't know if you guys agree with me, Arlene, the best speaker was the guy from Minneapolis.
Oh, yeah.
Not just because his name was Schaefer, but he was
Spelled it different.
he spelled it wrong, but it was still, he was really good. I mean, Minneapolis Milwaukee has taken some major steps in saving some huge amounts of dollars in recycling their waste-based sludge, basically, and they sell their treated stuff to the public. They pelletize, yeah. He called, I don't remember what Milgro or something like that. But he was very good. The lady from the State Water Resources Board, the chairman of their board, I'm not sure how she got elected chairman of the board, but she did. She didn't really talk about anything except
Talked over our heads.
It was
Well,
really.
she held her little thing right there and she just talked.
It just wasn't right. But overall, I thought the conference
One of the
was very
guest
good.
speakers couldn't attend. I think he was one of the council members from San Diego.
He was the congressman from San Diego,
Congressman,
right?
Yeah.
And they announced at the last minute that he couldn't attend.
Yeah.
I thought it was because of the mayor.
He might have been downtown at the
That
mayor's.
was that same day
Yeah.
they made the announcement.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
But they had a whole hour, nothing.
yeah, it was just nothing. The highlight of the conference for me was checking in at the hotel because I look over and there's a guy checking in. I thought, I know that guy. I think I told you. And it dawned on me it was Russell Martin, the catcher for the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Holy smokes.
And then later that afternoon, I was down there, and Andrew McCutcheon, the center fielder for the Pirates, was checking out. Just so happened the Pirates were playing the Padres down the street, but Costa knows how to pick their hotels, I gotta tell you. The Hyatt Grand, Manchester Grand Hyatt.
Seaport's right by Seaport Village. I've never been to Seaport Village before.
Yeah, that was
That
great.
hotel, I think Art hit it best. Art thought he was in Las Vegas.
We could have been a casino. They had slot machines and stuff, the way it looked. It was awesome. Yes, that's
Yeah, great hotel.
My room overlooking the USS Midway was very, very nice.
All the rooms had such good view.
Unfortunately, I think the cost, they do try to keep the cost down, and I trade paid full blow at that hotel. So, anyway, anything else on Costa from either of you guys?
I'll bring some, go ahead.
Okay, for next month?
Yeah, that's what I did.
That's
too.
fine.
I didn't have time.
I was gonna ask you if you had the notes, but you usually.
I got the notes,
Yeah, I
and
did
Arlene
too.
does it, so I haven't had time to do it.
Okay. All right, any other meetings for reimbursement, Arlene?
My turn?
If you want.
Yeah. Okay, on the ISDOC one, they just talked about having a free luncheon, which they did today. And actually Joe Finnegan, has been in bad shape.
She came this close to dying.
But she called me last night.
Good.
And she's, had back surgery and the blood clots are in. And so she's got a brace in the back now. And she's kind of a walker and really rough. So the staff's kind of doing everything in her place for now. She's president of MODOC, so that's a big thing. And, let's see, then of course, Bill Nelson gave his little pitch, which today he announced that he got
Oh, did it, did it?
CSDA directorship, so that was good. And then they just talked about the conference in Monterey and how good it was to have Carolyn there from LAFCO. She's always there now, which is kind of a nice gesture. And then on 7/12, I went to the Waco one. There was a brief report was given by Linda Ackerman on Metropolitan Water District and by Peter Swan on Aqua. And then Bill Nelson gave his little speech again. Glad he's finally in because he kept doing
Mike
it.
and I were there with you also.
Yeah. And there were 40 members on the legislation committee they were talking about for CSBA. And then the program was Assemblyman Travis Allen, and he got in and out so fast that nobody really got.
He had to go talk about fire pits to the
Yeah,
AQMD.
Right. So that was pretty fast.
He only said,
The fire rings.
you know, his head was so big when he got in the room, it was hard for him to get in, and it was almost as big when he left.
Well, he announced probably 6 times, "I am Travis Allen." Really?
Yeah.
He should be charged for amendment for years.
And their next meeting is August 2nd, he announced. We will have more gas and oil than Saudi Arabia, he announced.
I think it's not soon.
Then 7/16, I attended the Operation Study session, which most people here did. 7/18, Costa Mesa Chamber of Commerce breakfast meeting, and at that time, our CEO made the business chamber newsletter and gave a nice report on us.
I've seen it in person.
So we look good. And, let's see, where are we? And then 7/22, the Chamber of Commerce, I went to a ribbon cutting at Highland Greenleaf. It's a healthy eating place, and they had a lot of representatives from the legislature that I got to talk to. Alan Mansour was there, and Tony, who's Dina's rep, who's now going to run for city council. So I was just kind of talking with all these different people. And then 7/31 was our public hearing, and I attended it. That's it.
I neglected one thing on Costa. Midway City won some prestigious award, Midway City Sanitary District. And I didn't get a chance to see their award because they all got in a van and went and celebrated right after they got the award. So, do you remember what the award was?
I've got it written down. It was like best operations or
Yeah.
something. But I'll make a presentation next week.
Probably
next
through
month.
Margie.
Any other meetings, directors?
Well, I went to the ISDOC meeting today, with Director Schaefer, Scott, and, it was basically the OCTA general manager talking about how he's gonna spend the billions and measure how they spend it, and measure one fund and measure two funds. He had a lot of questions, and, our role seemed like everybody spoke up, concerning all the cities along the 405 widening, are opposed to what's OCTA staff apparently, are in favor of, whichever, I forget, which alternative that would be. All those certain, many cities want, only a couple of general purpose lanes, with, staff still, they're transportation professionals, so they have slightly different opinion and experience and training. All they wanna do is, present the alternative, service ad infinitum. So there's a huge number, billions a year spent, by the measure basically Orange County's, travel system. They spend it on freeways, transit, and, there's a third major item, you know, they allocate percentage of those funds to streets. So those are local streets. So, you know, California, you know, your street could be upgraded
It needs
Local
it.
streets, are
based
they
on
main streets?
my
They're local streets.
sales.
Local,
I hope so.
they're all local, all around Orange County.
I mean, within the communities or the main arteries, like Adams or something like that, or is it?
They didn't go into detail.
They have to
No.
designate, I think OCTA has to designate, I don't know if you know.
He
how-
didn't,
We have super streets, but
The
I'm,
super
I'm,
streets.
That's what I mean.
M1 and M2, I'm confused as to which is which, but they've totally synchronized some major streets that it's made a
That's
dramatic
what it is.
difference. For
Oh, I
Euclid
know.
Avenue, now getting all the way across Euclid to the 22 freeway, it's a breeze. I mean,
It
it's
same
just
with,
fly.
actually with Beach Boulevard, that
Yeah.
it
There's
really
another
is
one.
nice to go all the way up to Buena Park.
Patel is another one they're gonna
Yeah.
work on, and it's beautiful. Yeah, it really
Anyway,
has
they-
made an improvement in the quality of life in Orange County. All you have to do is be on that Santa Ana freeway in LA and then get out here and see that sign, welcome to Orange County, and have those lanes expand, you go,
It's amazing.
that half cent extra we paid, you know, this is good.
Well, you come down at 5, you know, and all of a sudden there's 10 lanes.
Yeah, right by that orange sign, welcome to Orange County,
Right in Buena Park.
gives you a little
Yeah,
pride.
they're
on the other one.
doing major work.
I
don't
have
know
my
how they're
notes
able
on
to
it
get up
for
there.
next month.
That's a very good meeting.
Yeah, I think the cities along the 405 corridor don't like the toll road idea.
Yeah,
That's the big
Yeah.
issue.
you're talking about one way. That's weird.
Although there was one person was questioning why they didn't have reversible lanes, and I thought he gave a very good explanation.
Okay, nothing on old business, new business, Scott?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Vice President. This item was requested by the board at a study session to bring this back to the full board, or the board of directors meeting. And the issue is, you know, the ISDOC is amending their bylaws, and those bylaws, those amendments will be going to their quarterly meeting on October 31st. So what the board needs to decide is nominate President Fairman and or Vice President Schaefer to vote on your behalf, approving those bylaws.
I move it.
Second. Any opposition? All those in favor?
I,
Passes.
Now, is it the 31st of this month, right?
October.
Yeah, because we had some, or we didn't have some issues, there were issues from the South County Water Agencies Coalition or whatever they are. So it was brought back, and it had, there was also some discussion about LAFCO's voting member, and so those had to be redone and sent back out to the districts for approval, and we had to wait until October 31st. And then the third quarter. Okay. Oral communications and director's comments. Anybody? I have one quick thing. I was contacted by Aviva Goldman from the Senior Center. She's gave me a copy of a letter she sent you about a sponsorship for their big event in, whenever it is, October 18th. She wanted me to inform the board that Mesa Water is giving $2,500 towards the sponsorship, and wanted to know if we're gonna go any further with it. I know we can't take any action tonight. I don't know if September's, what's the pleasure of the board, we wanna
what's their
consider.
fundraiser?
It's a fund called the Gatsby Affair. They're doing a big fundraiser at the Center Club in October, and they're looking to sell advertising and promotion things.
Do you know if the Mesa Water asks that it advance their purposes of their special district?
That's what I tried to explain to Aviva when I talked to her on the phone, and I don't know, Al. They just give money away to anybody. I mean, there is kind of a tie with the senior center because we do have the tell me, Elizabeth, what's the program?
The HEW program?
Yeah, HHW.
I can see where you could work something up, but do they go through that step, or do they just say, here's money?
Well,
That'd
they
be
generally have a booth, you know, to give away products and talk about their.
But they donate to
Okay.
a lot of people.
Yeah.
Do you know if they're gonna have booths?
No, there won't be any booths. They're looking for, I think, advertising to put in the program that they're putting in. Rob, you had a comment?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Vice President. We do use the senior center parking as overflow parking for us. and that includes on board, during the day, board meetings, and for contractor seminars and those kinds of things. So we do utilize their property.
What's the date of their event?
October 18th.
So they have time to present how would be beneficial for us.
How about bringing it back to the study session
You do that, Scott?
with more information?
Yeah, but we couldn't
about-
take an action.
Or do you want me
on
to take the lead on this?
Well, we
time?
can.
Yes, tomorrow night's study
Just
session's
to
pretty
five
cool.
of us there, we can.
You can
If it's time sensitive, we can. Or is
I mean,
it-
you got on September 9th of January, you're gonna be talking to the foundation about conservation of the parks on sponsorships.
Right.
So that's on the agenda, and I think what you decide on that will probably, set precedent what you wanna do in the future.
Okay. Is this something we could bring back to the next board meeting for?
Yeah, we could definitely bring this back in the September board meeting.
We have to find a reason for us to participate.
Well, like you said, we're gonna talk to the community foundation on the 9th, so that would give us at least an idea of what we can do with this, according to what Alan's talking.
We have our little checklist we could send to them and say, how would you fit into our checklist
Okay.
here? How do you? how would
That's
you
a good
cancel
idea.
this?
That'd be great.
So then maybe agendize it for the September board meeting?
Yeah, in the meantime, I'll if you give me a letter, I'll reach out to them and kind of ask them, well, how does that meet our purpose?
That'd be great. I think because I'm the past president of their board, they think I can make miracles happen. My wife doesn't even believe that. So, okay, anything else, Bob?
I'd like to ask staff, I missed going to this honor walk yesterday to honor, 3 people that I knew. And, the invitation showed up August 2nd. And I was gonna call the general manager and ring him out for not communicating with me when I was communicating with. I would, ask staff, staff never knows when it's time sensitive, but, I, for one, if you call me when I've got something here, I'd run down and get it. And I would have gone to this, because I worked with John Collins for a long time, and 2 of my staff were given a little break, so.
Did you know the President Freeman nominated John Collins?
Yes,
Yeah.
I did,
Yeah.
but I didn't know when it was.
Yeah.
I didn't know 2 of my staff were gonna get there, so.
Director Schaefer.
Yeah, I wondered why we weren't in this, advertising in the Costa Mesa Guy Recreation. See, like they have the water issue study group, well, we're putting together a study group. What a great way to advertise.
I can answer part of that.
Okay.
With the turmoil and the things that are going on with the people who worked with this brochure,
Yeah,
they kind of threw it together at the last minute,
okay.
and I don't even know if we were given an opportunity to advertise.
We have to,
We advertised in there.
I
I'm
know
in
we have
charge of it.
before,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
this particular
We're not in
issue,
it.
there
Yeah.
was some,
Oh, it was a
some
special
things-
issue. Okay.
well, it's not a special issue, but they were really working to get this issue out to promote the 60th anniversary. And there were some people involved with the 60th anniversary that are on leave right now, so they had to get that. And I don't think they reached out to us to put in, to be honest with you.
Oh, yeah.
I think it was the city's
Okay,
doing
because
some
we're
of ours.
usually
Pocketing
in.
Right.
sponsorship money.
We are in there actually.
Oh, we
We're
are?
on the back page.
We are?
pharmaceutical.
That's
program.
why I confirmed
Are
it.
you serious? I am
So they did get to
sorry.
you, Elizabeth.
I am
Oh.
so
I always
sorry.
contact them.
I missed that too,
Yeah.
because I looked through there and didn't see
I
it.
contact them,
Okay.
so I know when they request me for the recreational ad, and I submit it to
My
them.
apologies.
No problem.
Sorry. Yeah, that's great, okay.
We should put up closer to the front.
Yeah, we should be in the front and Mesa Water ought to be in the back there, as far as I'm
They
concerned.
probably got the whole.
You know, sometimes we are on the front page, but this time we were in the back page.
I'll talk to Lisa and see if I can.
Okay.
They
That'd
give
be
more money.
rotation.
Rotation.
Yeah, okay, anything else? Then I will adjourn this meeting.
Very good.
Not bad for
It's one of the shortest meetings we've ever had.
Not even 7 o'clock.
It's not quantity, it's quality.